Everyone, my name is Anna. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm an admissions officer for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I did attend Cal Poly for my undergrad degree, so I'm very familiar with the university and the town itself. So please ask questions, as I know that's a very important piece to really understanding if college is a good fit for you, as location really matters, the programs really matter. And I am a regional, so I do live down in San Diego, so I'm not too far from you all. So I hopefully in the future can maybe meet you in person, but if not, I'll be sure to give you my contact at the very end so we can stay connected. And before we get started, I also wanted to address that Cal Poly, the campus itself, is in Tulhini, which is the home of the Northern Chumash tribe of San Luis Obispo County. And we are all on this land as guests, so we always want to respect and thank them for letting us do so. And so a little bit about Cal Poly. We are in the Central Coast. It's a beautiful place. We're probably about 6 hours away from Imperial County, and we're in a small college town called San Luis Obispo. So we like to call it SLO for short, so you'll probably hear a lot of people saying that. And being on the Central Coast, it's really great because it's really easy to make weekend trips up and down the coast to major cities. We're only 200 miles from both San Francisco and Los Angeles. The weather is gorgeous. There's 10 beaches 10 to 20 minutes away from our campus. We're ranked one of the top surf schools in the nation. Tons of hills to go hiking on. If you see my virtual background, this is one of our really popular hills to hike on. We have this really fun tradition called the Tri-Tip Challenge, where students are hiking Bishop's Peak, Madonna Mountain, and what we call the P, all back to back. And you then treat yourself to a tri-tip sandwich at one of our local restaurants. Of course, if you don't eat meat, there's really great other food options. But those kind of traditions are really important to our students, as we really take pride in the location we're in, as we are a college town. So about 50,000 people, half the people there are all college students. And it's really great because the town revolves around the university. When it comes to finding part-time jobs or fun activities to do, it really caters to that college experience. So students feel loved and appreciated, and you're not having to compete in a large city trying to navigate just like how to live through college. We will have those resources available for you, as well as the town will. And if you know who Oprah is, Oprah has once named us the happiest city in America. And I really do see that because the students feel super supported through all of the resources. Cal Poly is one of the 23 CSUs. We are a medium-sized campus of about 21,000 students. We are an undergraduate-focused institution, meaning we mainly will cater to the undergraduate experience. What's really cool about that is a lot of the classes, the internships, the research opportunities, they're available for undergraduate students. You don't have to compete with graduate level students to get those opportunities. So for example, if you're interested in human anatomy, we have a cadaver lab on campus for undergraduate students to use. Or if you're interested in welding, we have welding labs through a lot of our engineering departments or our architecture program. Or if you're interested in marine sciences, we have a Cal Poly pier 10 minutes away out in Avila Beach, and students take out our Cal Poly boat out to the ocean, and that is your classroom. And so a lot of these experiences, typically you don't get to try out till you're a graduate student, but we make sure that that's available for you. And I'll give you all a couple of seconds to do so. This is our brochure. And so if you actually click that brochure, you'll see the list of our 64 majors under our 6 academic colleges. So you'll see if there is a program that is a good fit for you. Within those majors, there's also minors that you can apply for, and then along with that, we do have some graduate degrees. We have 3+1 and 4+1 MBA programs, 4+1 engineering masters. We also have teaching credentials, counseling masters, and we do have a pre-vet, pre-med, and pre-law track that students can go on to make sure that they're ready to go to pursue school for a more specialized program after their Cal Poly experience. So I'll be sure to share this brochure at the end of the session as well, but hopefully you can start looking at that, as that has the list of majors on there. For the last 27 years in a row, we have been ranked best in the West for a public master's level university. And we really get that ranking every single year because of our learn by doing philosophy. So I already mentioned a couple of examples of that undergraduate focused experience, but if you think about it, a lot of them are very hands-on. So we don't believe that students are going to be super engaged and interested in what they're studying unless they actually get to experience it. So we try not to have too many lecture type classes. We really want you to practice what you're there to get a degree in. And so a lot of our labs and classes are very hands-on. So for example, this top right photo, this is one of our vineyards on campus for our nationally ranked wine and viticulture program. Cal Poly is the second biggest landholding school in California due to our agriculture units. So if you're a dairy science major, you're going to be working with the cows producing Cal Poly cheese, ice cream, chocolates that then actually get to be enjoyed by Cal Poly students buying them at our campus market. If you are an architecture student, we have studio-based classes. If you're a child development student, we have a preschool lab on campus. If you are a journalism student, we have something called Mustang News, where students are either on the team printing the newspaper twice a week or part of the TV news station crew that's actually broadcasting news to Cal Poly students. So we really believe in learn by doing. And with that learn by doing philosophy, Cal Poly students typically have 6 to 12 months less training when they start working, which is super great because then you're already able to just streamline the process of getting comfortable with the industry you're working in because you've already done that quote unquote training in the classes. So we do have something called an upside down curriculum where you start major courses from day one. So most universities will have you do 2 years of general ed classes and then maybe really start to focus in on your major classes that third and fourth year. At Cal Poly, we have you start major classes right when you get there. So that being said, you do have to declare your major on the application. You can't go in undecided or undeclared. Now, let's say you start studying a specific major at Cal Poly and you realize this isn't the best fit for you. 30% of our students do switch majors. So it's not impossible to switch majors. I know there's a reputation at Cal Poly that you can't switch. We have really great resources within academic and college advising that will help you through that process. Our average class size is 32 students, so we really believe that learn by doing can only happen in a small classroom experience. And what's really cool about these classes is 98% of our classes are taught by professors. So professors are at Cal Poly to primarily teach and then do research on the side. So if you are interested in research, you'll definitely be able to get recruited by professors to do research, internships, and a lot of these internship opportunities will go towards your degree progress as well. So you're able to check off a lot of boxes through the different experiences you have at Cal Poly. We do understand that students are also interested in more than one thing, so we highly encourage students to apply for the different minors across our 6 colleges. So I know a student that's majoring in history and minoring in computer science, or majoring in statistics and minoring in architectural engineering. I know a student who is a business administration major and minoring in 4 different minors in the College of Liberal Arts. So I would say on average students are minoring in about 2 different minors, and a lot of these requirements for those minors will help fulfill general education and free elective courses. So you're not going to fall behind if you tack on additional minors. So learn by doing is really, really big. So if you are a hands-on learner, Cal Poly would be a perfect fit for you as you will feel super engaged in everything that you're studying. So I'm going to play a quick video that actually highlights learn by doing. And so all these clips are classes, internships, and club opportunities that you'd get to experience if you were a student here.
Tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing moves, your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. Winterland, you're my sailing ship. Guide me when you head for your trip. Right out of this wicked black and into bright sand. Straight towards the warm sun and into his hands. When I get there, I let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the end.
So, along with our majors and minors, we also have over 400 clubs and organizations for you to get involved in. We know that it's important to find community through things you're interested in. And so, clubs range from like culture and identity based, like the Society of Women in Engineering or the Latinx Business Student Association. We also have leadership and ambassador programs. We have clubs that are just for fun. So, a student last year realized that we don't have a ukulele club, so she started one. We have a hummus club, a hammock club. If we don't have a club you're interested in, it's super easy to start one. We also have clubs that are associated to certain departments on campus. So for example, if anyone's interested in aerospace engineering, we have a club called PolySat CubeSat, where students are creating cube satellites and launching them from NASA into space. So if anyone knows who Bill Nye the Science Guy is, he is a huge fan of this club. So he's actually been on our campus to support it. And because we utilize NASA to launch these cube satellites, we have a really great partnership with them, so students are able to get internships and full-time job opportunities. I mentioned our Mustang News, which is our TV news station and newspaper that is entirely student run. If any of you are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, we have a program called the Hot House, where you can apply to be a part of this program and get funding and support to create your own startup. So a lot of students get really creative with different types of projects that they have in mind. The most recent one that I love talking about is called Passion Footwear. They do have an Instagram account if you look it up. A business sophomore student decided that rather than wearing high heels and her feet hurting and just going barefoot right after, she created a mechanism and tool where you can actually pop off that heel, off that high heel shoe, and then pop something else on, and it turns into a functioning flat, super comfortable, has a lot of different colors and sizes, and it's internationally known now. So if you just look up Passion Footwear, that's something that came to life through our Hot House. If you also are familiar with Jamba Juice, Cliff Bars, yerba mate teas, those all started at Cal Poly from undergraduate students. This didn't start at the Hot House, but if anyone knows what Urban Dictionary is, a freshman computer science student actually created that just from things that he's learned in classes. So it's pretty incredible and powerful what you can do with the Learn by Doing philosophy. You will find out about all of these clubs and programs through one of the top rated orientation programs in the nation called Week of Welcome. So every incoming student is required to participate in our week-long orientation that happens right before classes start. And it's really just a chance for you to understand what you're going to call home for the next 4 years. So we'll have a club showcase, awareness galleries. There's usually a bunch of different performers. There's barbecues. Your orientation leaders will take you all throughout campus to just understand where your classes are going to be. You also might go off campus and go kayaking, go hiking, do a bonfire, watch the sunset. You might even practice using the city bus, which is completely free for our Cal Poly students. And we have 2 bus stops on campus. So it's a really, really great way to find your community, make some friends, feel comfortable in being away from home for maybe the first time. And that way, when you start day one with your classes, you'll know what resources to tap into whenever you need them. If anyone's interested in sports, we are NCAA Division I for all of our sports. Biggest one is probably soccer. The largest men's soccer rivalry in the nation is Cal Poly versus UCSB, which is super fun. We also have 29 club sports to try out for. And then we have a series of intramural sports. So if anyone maybe played sports their whole life, but they don't want to spend that much time with it in college, you can just get a group of friends from different entities you're involved in, create a team for a certain sport that you love, and then you show up to these organized events. And if you're the best team that season, you typically get to go home with free t-shirts and pizza. So lots of tiers with athletics, as we know that can be very important for our students. For first-time freshmen, you are required to live in the dorms. Dorms are interest-based, identity-based, and culture-based, so you'll be able to rank those preferences. And then any continuing students or transfer students from a community college, if you would like to, you could live in the on-campus apartments. It's actually this top right photo. They're beautiful, and you actually get free housekeeping once a week, which is unheard of for like housing outside of the dorms. But it's a really great perk living on campus as continuing students or transfer students. But of course, if you don't want to live on campus after your freshman year, it's a college town, so most students live 5 to 15 minutes away from the school. We also have a lot of different student services. So that ranges from academic advising, making sure you are staying on track to graduate. If you want to change your major, maybe apply for a minor. Our career services office puts on about 20 career fairs a year, so huge employers will come to campus and interview right then and there for maybe an internship during the summer back in your hometown, maybe an internship up in Seattle, maybe you want to go to another country, and they'll also come to interview for full-time jobs as well. Career services office, the office will also put on resume workshops along with a clothing closet. And so if you need help borrowing a business professional outfit for an interview, we have that available for you. So it's a really great office, and they have a freshman focus team, as they know that it's important to start working with students, figuring out if you're in that right major, if you know what to do with it, and just kind of giving you all the different options. If you've ever thought about going to a different country, studying abroad is something that we highly recommend. Most students go anywhere from a week long to a year long, usually their junior year in college, and then you can do anything from 3 to 4 classes or an internship abroad, and there are a ton of financial aid and scholarship opportunities to be able to study abroad as well. And then last but not least, we do have student academic services, so that ranges from our Cal Poly Scholars Program to EOP, TRIO, Upward Bound, along with our Center for Military Connected Students as well. Another thing we are super passionate about is making sure that we are cultivating a safe and inclusive environment for all of our students, regardless of their identity. And so we have our Student Diversity and Belonging, which is a huge hub full of different types of centers, and you'll see all of them listed at the bottom left. And these centers are not only an opportunity for students to find a community and a safe space based on an identity that's salient to them, but these centers put on phenomenal weekly talks and programming and training to also educate students who want to be allies for marginalized students. And it's a really, really great way to keep cultivating that safe and rich environment, not just on campus, but off campus too, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement. There's a lot of peaceful protests going on in San Luis Obispo. A lot of them are spearheaded by students, and we really want to support that and their efforts. And so we try to do that within our Student Diversity and Belonging. And so I'm going to play another video that talks about a student named Sergio. He was told by countless of people that he wasn't going to fit in when he went off to college. And he was able to find his community through the Rose Float team. And so Cal Poly SLO and Cal Poly Pomona every single year participate in the Rose Float Parade down in Pasadena. And almost every year they get first place in student run float, because it's just phenomenal what they come up with. Everything from picking and growing the roses to creating the float, designing it and showcasing it. It's just incredible the different designs they come up with. So here's a little snippet of that.
I think the legacy I want to leave behind at Cal Poly is to encourage people, don't be afraid of trying things. A Cal Poly student to me is someone that's willing to put it all out there, to go for it. One of the bigger challenges coming to Cal Poly for me was that I brought along a little bit of doubt. A lot of people were like, are you sure that's where you belong? Like, it's not quite a school for you if you don't match the demographics of the campus. I felt like they were almost setting me up to fail. But then I realized that I didn't come to Cal Poly. That wasn't the experience that I wanted. So as a result, I decided I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. I'm going to go do something. Diagonal line. Look at the bottom part. Yeah, because you have to kind of transition it in. I just want you to raise your hand. So like, this is the start and this is the finish. Okay.
When I first met Sergio, he was always very kind and very excited, and as I got to know him a little bit more, I realized that he was nervous that he didn't have the technical knowledge to be able to work on the team or contribute, but as he gained confidence, he learned that, wow, I can lead people really well and I can help people in different ways. I have a different skill set. I think it started first in the Roseville capacity, and then he became an RA. Now he's working on the ASI board of directors, so he's now affecting more and more people with each step of growth.
This program has just given me so much as far as like the friendships and the quality of like my family away from home. And this program is really what made me feel like I fit in at Cal Poly in the first place.
Quality queen in the fashion world. Sergio.
I think that at the end of the day, what I'm taking away from Cal Poly is that life changes and that life gives you many opportunities. I started at Cal Poly as an animal science major. I'm still planning to finish out this degree, but over the time that I've been here and the extracurriculars that have been involved, I've realized that there's a lot more happiness that I get from working with people than I do animals. Oddly interesting, maybe, destiny, whatever might have it. My name actually means servant, so I take that to mean as I will give service to others. I really want to live that for the rest of my life after Cal Poly.
So college is a really cool time because you're going to be able to get involved in so many different avenues and really just understand what you're passionate and interested about. And it doesn't always have to be within your major. And so Sergio is a perfect example of that. So even if you don't come to Cal Poly, I hope that's something that you definitely focus on, is like outside of your class time, really understanding how you can get involved and to find your passions and your community. And so another thing that Cal Poly is very serious about is making sure students feel prepared and confident in finding jobs after they graduate, or maybe attending graduate school after. So these are a couple of stats across our 64 degrees. If you're also interested in your specific academic college, maybe you want to study landscape architecture. If you go to our career services website, we actually have these graduate status reports broken down by the 6 academic colleges. So if you're interested in landscape architecture, we have a report dedicated to the College of Architecture and Environmental Design, and it'll also highlight top cities, top companies, and top graduate program students are getting accepted into as well. So it's really awesome because that learn by doing does really come into play with this piece of students' kind of college experience. A lot of students will have internship opportunities, and a lot of them will turn into full-time jobs as well. On the right hand side, you can see some of the larger employers that do hire out of Cal Poly, and a lot of these do actually come to campus to interview as well. And so a little bit about how to apply. Because Cal Poly is one of the CSUs, we do use the Cal State Apply. It is $70 per campus. Make sure you're doing your research on knowing exactly what campuses you're interested in. Do they have the major you want to study? Is it in a location you want to be in for the next 4 years? And then if you do qualify for an application fee waiver, make sure you are talking to your counselor on how to get that. The application itself is open from October 1st to December 4th, so you have a couple of months to work on it. We will not review the application until it officially closes on December 4th, so please take your time on it. Double check your work, because once you submit the application, you can't go back in and edit it. So you can go in and save it and come back to it, but once you press submit, it's final. So make sure you're spending good time double checking all the work that you're inputting, as it is all self-reported. So you are fully responsible in putting all the information in correctly. If you are a first-generation college student and or a low-income student, I definitely recommend applying to the Educational Opportunity Program, or what we call EOP for short. If your school has EAOP, it's a similar program on the college level, and you'll want to apply for that on the Cal State Apply application. Now, the Cal State Apply application does not have any letters of recommendations or personal statements, except for the EOP piece does have 2 required letters of recommendation. So make sure if you are applying to EOP, you do have on your radar that you need to get 2 letters of recs in for the application. So if you are thinking about applying as a first-time freshman, meaning you want to go straight from high school into college, this is your criteria. Everything I'm talking about admissions is also available on our admissions website, and we will be launching a Cal State Apply playlist on our admissions YouTube channel, and I'll show you the link at the end of this presentation. But once you declare your major on the application, as a reminder, it is required, you will report your A through G coursework from the beginning of your freshman year till the end of your senior year. So if any of you are seniors and are applying this year, you are required to report what classes you're taking this semester and what classes you're planning on taking next semester. Now, Cal Poly is an impacted school, meaning we have less spots available than how many applicants we get every single year. So one way to see if you're a competitive applicant is seeing if you've taken additional A through G courses than the minimum CSU requirement. So this is the CSU requirement. This is a number of semesters Cal Poly desires and recommends. It is not required to get these numbers, but if you can get closer to these numbers or get to these numbers, that can definitely that will help you become competitive for your applicant pool. Couple of ways of getting these extra semesters. If you have taken one semester at a community college for any of these subject areas, that's 1 whole year of high school credit. If you have taken a math or language other than English class in 7th or 8th grade and you bumped up to the next level in 9th grade, you can count that as well. If you doubled up on a subject, maybe you took 2 math classes your junior year and both of them were a year each, boom, that's 2 years within 1 year. So there are a couple of ways of getting these additional semesters, and we will have on our playlist a couple of tips and tricks about that as well. We also look at a weighted average GPA of freshman, sophomore, and junior year. Most schools only look at sophomore and junior year. So Cal Poly will recalculate your information and add in your freshman year. And if you've taken AP, honors, or IB courses, that's going to help towards your weighted GPA. So make sure you're indicating if a class is an honors class or an AP class. If you're applying this year, we are completely test blind, meaning you do not need to send in ACT or SAT scores whatsoever. If you are a freshman, sophomore, or junior applying in the next few years, that decision has not been made. It is a CSU system-wide decision. So I would say stay up to date with the different updates across the different university systems. And then I would say have on your radar to maybe take in the near future. I do understand it's limited right now. So I would say just work with your counselor and try to have it on your radar for the near future. Remember, there are no letters of recs or personal statements for the general Cal State apply, but we will be asking a couple of very straightforward yes or no and number-based questions about extracurriculars and work experience. We do understand with the pandemic, things have been a little limited the last few months, so we will be asking about your extracurricular and work experience activities the last 36 months. So it'll actually count months before the pandemic had started. If you're thinking about studying music or art and design as majors, there is a portfolio or audition required, and the specific department will contact you after you submit the Cal State Apply with the correct criteria on what to do for these pieces. If you're thinking about transferring, meaning you want to go to a community college first, it's about 2 years or 60 semester units or 90 quarter units at your community college. We work with every California community college, so it's a very simple process to see what classes transfer over to Cal Poly. Now, one thing to remember, there's a lot of words on here, so the biggest thing I want you to remember is if you're serious about transferring, what you will need to do when you start at your community college is go to our admissions website, and under the major specific transfer criteria tab, you're going to put the major you're interested in. So maybe you're interested in biochemistry. You'll press submit, and it'll show all the required and the desired courses we are asking you to take at your community college. And then there's something called assist.org that your community college will help you use to make sure the classes are available and they transfer properly over to Cal Poly or any other four-year university. Everything else is pretty much the same, except if you're wanting to transfer as an architecture applicant, there is a portfolio required. So that specific department will contact you after you submitted the Cal State Apply. Now, one thing to note about applying to Cal Poly is because we're asking you to declare your major, you are only competing against students going into that same major. So let's say you're interested in software engineering and the person next to you is interested in city, regional, and planning. You two will not be competing against each other coming into the school. So your applicant pool is specifically the students going into that specific major, not even that academic college, but that specific major. So we don't have minimum GPA or minimum A through G courses or minimum test scores that you need in order to get into Cal Poly, as those averages and basically your competition will not be known until all of you apply into your major that year. So hopefully that makes sense, but feel free to ask questions in the Q&A if you have any. This is the timeline. So applying to college is almost an entire year. So if you are interested in a school, make sure you are subscribed to their email communication, as colleges will be sending out reminder emails about when things are due. If you're applying this year, you don't have to worry about the January 15th deadline. If you're applying to EOP, the 2 letters of recs are due by January 31st. March 2nd is the priority deadline to fill out your FAFSA or your California DREAM Act application, as that will be the indicator of your need-based financial aid. Then the Cal State Apply is actually your automatic application for any merit-based scholarships. So you don't have to worry about submitting anything extra for your academic achievements. And then once you're a student at Cal Poly, a lot of times departments will offer a series of scholarships you can apply for once you're there. And so a little bit about tuition, it's all on here. It's also available on that brochure you scanned in the beginning, along with our financial aid website. This is the ballpark estimate of a California resident tuition, but that does fluctuate depending on your financial aid package, along with how much you're spending on books and supplies, transportation, et cetera, et cetera. So all this information is on our financial aid website, and we do have financial aid counselors if you ever have questions. And then some of our counselors also speak Spanish. So if your parents and supporters would like to speak to someone in Spanish, they can definitely help you out there as well. So I want to go back to the timeline. You will hear back from us anytime from mid-March to the end of April. You have until May 1st to decide if you're coming to Cal Poly. And then July 15th is the deadline to submit all final transcripts, which include your senior year grades. So we will be checking to make sure you passed all of your senior year classes. And then if you have taken AP tests and have scored a 3, 4, or 5, you'll definitely want to send those in, as that actually gets you out of some classes at Cal Poly, so it'll help save time and money. So if you're planning on taking AP tests this year, work hard with them because they actually will benefit in the long run in college. And so today's presentation was a much broader overview about Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm sure you all are on Zoom a lot, but if you can handle another hour or two of Cal Poly Zoom, I highly recommend signing up for one of these virtual visits. They're offered all throughout the week. Typically, they're going to be offered in the later afternoon. So if your parents and supporters are available, they can sign up as well. If you don't know what you want to study, or you just want a quick overview of all the different colleges and majors, I definitely recommend signing up for the general campus tour. If you know that you're interested in, let's say, computer science, and you know you want to do engineering, then I would sign up for one of the college specific information sessions. And then in October, we will have our Cal Poly virtual preview day. So there's going to have be a lot of different sessions you can sign up for across the different colleges. We also will be hosting application workshops. So if anyone needs help navigating in the application, you can sign up for those. We'll have those a few days a week. And these are all offered for free on Zoom. So feel free to sign up for them. You can go to this link at the bottom right, or just Google Cal Poly Visit, and it should be your first search result. And so I'm going to play one more quick video that highlights some beautiful San Luis Obispo traditions that we have in our town. These are all like unspoken and unofficial traditions, but a lot of students feel the need to do them by the time they graduate. And it really goes to show how much we really love the town we're in and really utilize our surrounding area.
The first steps, the new best friends, the sunny days, and the late nights. The old traditions and the new ones. The stand up and scream moments. And the moments that don't need a single word. The weekly rituals. And the things we'll do once, but probably just that once. The adventures we check off our bucket lists. And the small things we do just to unwind. These are the things we're going to remember forever. The traditions that bind us as Mustangs. These are the moments we share at Cal Poly.
And last but not least, these are just a couple of resources that we have for your exploration and application process. That QR code is the same brochure that I had up at the beginning of the session. Once you scan it, make sure you either save it or download it or email it to yourself, as this specific brochure is not available on our website. All the information on there is scattered throughout our website, but this is a really good, just everything's on it. So definitely save that. If you don't know what you want to study, as that's pretty uncommon for colleges to require, we definitely want to help you with that process. So our admissions website has an Explore Our Majors feature where if you scroll down to the bottom, it'll ask you a couple of questions like career aspirations or just things you're interested in. It'll populate some majors that we think are a good fit for you. And then that admissions YouTube channel I mentioned earlier with the financial aid playlist and the Cal State Apply playlist that's launching soon. We do have a playlist on all 64 majors. Every video will be up by the end of this month, but we have a good, I think, 20 or 30 of them up there Most videos on that channel are only 3 to 5 minutes. So it's really easy to watch, and they're all done by students. So they give you your honest opinion on what the major's about, why they picked it, what they're doing in the major, and what they see themselves doing after that major as well. So definitely check that out. A couple of helpful Instagram accounts. If there is one to follow, I would definitely follow the admissions one, as that one will cater to students like you all, and it'll promote all the different events that I've been talking about today that you can sign up for. And then my contact information is at the bottom. So feel free to call, text, email me at any time. I am your main contact. I know it can feel a little isolating sometimes in a virtual world, but I definitely want to be a resource for you. Especially if you're applying this year, definitely reach out. If you have questions about the application, sign up for those application workshops. But even if you're applying the next few years, I'd love to stay connected and help you with just the whole college exploration and application process. But that is the end of my presentation. I wanted to see if there was any questions that anyone might have.
Anna, we do have some questions for you. By the way, great job. Loved hearing about Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Thank you.
My name's Todd Evangelist. I work here at the County Office of Education, and we're hosting this virtual Higher Ed Week for the next 2 weeks. So thank you, Anna, on behalf of
thanks
all
for
of us in
having
Imperial
me.
County. Cal Poly is a very popular university in Imperial County, as you can imagine. One of the reasons is because we have a strong ag economy here in Imperial County, and Cal Poly has a strong ag program. To that point about alumni and people who have gone through your university, maybe if you could share real quick, there's been some questions about alumni associations after the fact when students go to your university and then graduate. What happens? Are there alumni associations throughout California?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So our alumni network is huge. And what's great about it is it's all volunteer, and like you don't have to join the alumni network or the alumni association, but students choose to because they really want to stay connected with the university and give back. So I was talking about those career fairs where huge employers come. Typically, it's Cal Poly alumni that work at these companies and industries, and they vouch for hiring Cal Poly students. They tell their employers, I can promise you I can get you a great candidate from this university. Like, let me go recruit for you. And so they'll come to the schools. I would actually say for those of you interested in agriculture, the College of Agriculture, Environmental, and Food Sciences definitely has probably one of the largest networks within alumni. They really love giving back to the school. A lot of the units within our agriculture college have had massive donations and sponsorships from really big agricultural companies within California, especially too. And so there's a lot of great partnerships through that. And so basically, once you graduate, you will get to fill out a form saying, hey, do you want to stay connected with Cal Poly? Do you want to be part of the Alumni Association? We have obviously the general Cal Poly Alumni Association, but we do also have specific territorial ones, like we have one for Imperial County, or maybe even for a specific city if it has enough alumni there. We also have it for the college. We also have it for certain companies that are really closely connected to Cal Poly. So if you look up Cal Poly Alumni Association, there's a lot going on there. They really, really love Cal Poly students.
Well, that's good to know. Now, here's a couple questions from one of the students, and I'll preface this by saying the Poly in Cal Poly stands for Polytechnics. That seems very technical, very engineering centric. So to me, that sounds like it's could be very hard. There could be a lot of hard academic pressures on students. So the question asks, how would you describe the academic pressure and workload for students? And then maybe as a follow-up, what are the support services available to students at Cal Poly?
Yeah, good question. So I think college is always going to be the next level from high school. It's going to be challenging because it's just a new environment you're navigating. It's not just the academics, but it's also living away from home potentially, figuring out how to be independent, getting involved. It's just all these little components that you're figuring out. So I think that kind of adds to the challenge of college. But what I love about the university, and this question gets asked a lot during our virtual visits with our student tour guides. A lot of students ask what's the feel for the university and the students there. And I would say Cal Poly is a lot more collaborative rather than competitive, meaning students are there to help one another. There's so many collaborative efforts, group projects. You don't feel like people are pushing you down, and they really want you to help succeed. And what's super cool too is because the classes are pretty much taught by professors, they're going to be available for you as resources. Every professor has to have office hours, meaning they have to have extra hours outside of class time to provide any additional support for you. In terms of student services, we have that academic advising office throughout the different colleges that'll make sure that you're staying on track to graduate. Most students will meet with their academic advisors at least once a quarter. Sometimes you'll meet once a week to make sure you're taking the right classes. We have something called the Mustang Success Center, which specifically works with freshman students because they understand that this transition from high school to college is a really big one. So they're going to make sure that academically you have all the supports in place. We have a lot of different tutoring programs, whether that's tutoring review sessions in the dorms. Professors sometimes host additional tutoring sessions outside of their classes, and then older students who are really comfortable in teaching a subject that they maybe took a year or two prior, they'll actually have tutoring sessions too, and sometimes they're free, maybe sometimes they cost like $10 an hour. It really varies, but in terms of the resources available, there's a lot. And then we do, in terms of like your mental health, we do have a campus health and well-being office on campus, and so you can get counseling services, therapy. We even have a massage chair on campus, so a lot of different supports as you are going to be navigating a lot of new things in your life.
That sounds good. With all these Zooms throughout the day for Higher Ed Week, I think I might want to use some of that.
I know, me too.
That massage chair. Now, I think you had mentioned it earlier, but there was a question. So just to be clear, what are the housing options for freshmen, incoming freshmen at Cal Poly? Do they have to stay on campus?
Yeah, so first-time freshmen are required to live in the dorms, and dorms are identity-based, interest-based, and college-based. So basically, when you're applying for housing, you're going to be put in a dorm no matter what, but we want to try to give you the choice that you want to live in. And so we have ones based on a college you're in or something you're interested in. Maybe you're in the cooking dorm or the sustainability dorm, or we have Latinx housing or first-generation college housing. So we have different types of housing options for you to choose from. And those are all obviously on campus, scattered throughout this one main street that we have. We do have brand new dorms that just opened up in the last year and a half. And then actually within like 2 weeks ago, we just opened up a brand new dining facility for mainly first-time freshmen to utilize. It's a 3-story dining complex, but additionally, we have about 20 other eateries on campus that you can utilize. And then continuing students and transfer students, there is apartments on campus that you can live in as well. If you wanted to, it's optional.
Great. Now, we appreciate you answering questions. And if you have a question for Anna or Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, now's the time to ask it. At the bottom of your screen, by the way, this screen that we have right now, it has a great QR code. You can get some detailed information about the university and Anna's contact information on there as well. But hopefully down at the very bottom, you might see a question and answer tab. Please utilize that during this session. We'll be able to check in and answer any question that you might have live. Now, a couple questions that have been asked throughout the day. So if you're a student who's logged in at 1 o'clock, you may have some of these questions have already gone through, but some are just Cal Poly fans, and so they may have just logged in right now, or maybe they were in a Zoom in a class and didn't get to where you covered this topic. SAT and ACTs are a big topic. Students maybe hadn't taken one prior to March of last year, and now they keep on clicking on College Board, and there's no tests in Imperial County, no tests in Imperial County.
I know.
They might be a little worried, have some anxiety about, what if I can't take a test between now and then? Does that matter at Cal Poly?
Yeah, so this year we're test blind, so we're not looking at ACT or SAT scores. The only clear answer I don't have for you is for anyone applying in the next few years. That decision hasn't been made because that's going to be a CSU-wide decision. So what I was saying earlier, make sure to work with your counselors, keep it on your radar to try to sign up for tests in the near future. But for those of you applying this year, we are not looking at tests whatsoever, so you don't even have to worry about sending in old scores.
Well, that's good to know. Hey, just a reminder, we have one more session today for our Higher Ed Zoom. That's going to start at 4 o'clock, and I believe that's University of California at Irvine is coming up at 4 o'clock today. But Anna, we want to make sure that if you have any other kind of ending points or ending summaries, we'd love to hear from them. And if you have a question for Anna, we'd love for you to click on the question and answers at the very bottom, or maybe you or your parents might have a question. I'm sure Anna would love to hear from you. But she's so convenient to give us her email and a contact address, phone number, and then the QR code for the university so you could follow up with a little bit later. But Anna, any ending thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think just the biggest thing is sometimes college might feel really far away in terms of location. I think I mentioned earlier, Imperial County is probably about 6 hours away from San Luis Obispo, but California's a really great place to go to college. There's so many awesome universities, and don't let that scare you away if it feels like it's too far away from home. You're able to make it home. There's a lot of great resources to get you to and from home. But the great thing about college is you're going to get so involved that you're not going to feel homesick all the time. I admit that I felt homesick at the very beginning, but that's because I'm used to living at home my whole life. But then I started to find clubs and part-time jobs, and I was loving my classes. And so we do a really good job to make sure students are feeling comfortable. So don't let that scare you away. And another thing too is if you don't know what you want to study, do not worry. If you are applying this year and you're still undecided, definitely look through this Explore Majors feature, watch some of those YouTube videos, and then definitely sign up for some of those virtual visits. The tour guides are phenomenal. They do a really good job showcasing what the Cal Poly experience is. And I see a couple of questions. So what
Yeah,
are
feel
some
free
tips
to answer
for
those live.
Oh yeah, so what are some of the tips for the college application to be competitive, interesting since it's test blind this year? So we're really going to be focusing on your GPA, so an average weighted GPA along with your A through G courses. So make sure you are maxing out on all the A through G courses that you're taking, and then your extracurriculars and work experience. So remember that with the Cal State Apply app, there are no letters of recs or personal statements aside from applying to EOP. So we're really looking at your academics. And then how competitive is the animal science field in Cal Poly? Which Cal Poly campus is better for that major, this one or Pomona? So I honestly cannot speak for Pomona. Both have really strong hands-on experiences. You'd have to ask Cal Poly Pomona about their animal science program, but I can tell you with ours, really, really phenomenal, so hands-on. We actually have a vet clinic on campus for those of you interested in doing veterinary science and going to vet school. And with that pre-vet track, students are able to make sure they're taking the right prerequisites for vet school after Cal Poly. And for example, UC Davis is a phenomenal school, and they have a really strong veterinary program that a lot of our students apply and get accepted into. So we have really great resources for that. If you don't want to go the vet science route, but you're interested in animal science, we have basically every domestic animal on campus that you can work with. If you're interested in equine science, dairy science, the poultry unit, on our YouTube channel, we do have a video up about animal science. So a student talks about her experience. So I definitely recommend checking that out. But in terms of SLO versus Pomona, both are great schools. Both have strong programs, but I can't really speak for what their animal science program is like.
All right, Anna. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. I appreciate all the great questions that the students and families have submitted. And again, today was the first Cal Poly San Luis Obispo here in Imperial County, hopefully not the last. Thank you for joining us for our virtual higher education week. We really appreciate you, and I'm sure you'll have students reaching out to you as we move forward in this process. So thanks for joining us today, Anna.
Thank you all so much. Stay safe and best of luck with everything.